Okay, well, talk a little bit about the theme. I read some stuff that was talking about the theme, but what would you say were the themes of the show?
I know Tony, our director, had mentioned that a reviewer, I think, of the original show had said that some of the themes were selfishness and selflessness, and how there are times when, even when you act for yourself, it's not necessarily selfish. When there are times when you need to stand up and do something with your life for your friends, for yourself, that is actually the most selfless thing that you can do. And it's really difficult to know what that is at times. It's very hard to have the ability to analyze and perceive just what's what. And especially when we can be so sort of ingrained in our ways and our habits that we act like we act for years sometimes, and we get stuck. And it's really hard to step back and get a perspective to see what's really going on. So I think the play as a whole is that disruption, that distraction that comes in and jars everyone into realizing that something's got to change. And the play is how that change sort of unfolds.
Yeah, Tony very beautifully talks about how just words that we hear when we're younger used towards us, like, oh, you're a nerd, or you're stupid, or you're a jerk, how those words can just manifest in our body and then grow and grow and grow. They're like seeds. And generally, we reach a point and we say, oh, no, that word is not me at all. And we go as far away as possible as we can from it. And then sometimes, in rare cases, those words bloom and we become everything that they could mean. Rick is everything a nerd ever could be. And that sort of manifestation is something that needs to be destroyed or needs to be altered so that a real human being can come out and not just the definition of a word. So although Rick plays that part, it's merely to be a mirror to the main character of Willem and say, look, you're doing something wrong with your life. You should change. You should be introspective and figure out what's going on and what needs to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask. Back when it was play set, whatever, 1979 or whatever, the nerd was one definition. But now people think nerds are thinking, Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, do you think the definition of a nerd's changed in that respect, or is that nerd still a nerd?
I mean, well, nerd originally was a word created by Dr. Seuss, which is awesome because he just imagined this word, and therefore now, years and years later, it has so many definitions, good and bad. I am a nerd. Matt Hill is a nerd. I play video games. I know a lot about movies and musicals, and I know a lot of things that maybe might be embarrassing to know, and that makes me nerdy, but also geeky, which is different than the nerd that Rick Steadman is, which is he's just a buffoon. He's ludicrously all over the place, just all the time. And that nerd is very different than what I thought a nerd was. Although they are the same sort of initial definition. So yes, the term has changed. And when I first heard of the play, I thought it was going to be carry the 7, this equals that, plus, that sort of nerd. But it couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's no better word to describe.
It's just about, he hit it right on the head with that one, because it's broad enough to fit a lot of different kinds of people and a lot of different kinds of definitions. Mm-hmm. And words change all the time throughout, from generation to generation, from decade to decade, even like year to year. But I definitely think it's appropriate for the show that we're doing.
And it will set up the audience, if that makes sense. I think just the nerd, they know exactly what they're in for, and when that nerd reveals himself, they won't be surprised. Yeah.
Okay. Well, since the season's almost done, what have you guys learned this season?
What haven't we learned?
It's incredible. Getting the chance to do a season's worth of shows. I actually came in a little bit late because I was doing a different show in Pittsburgh, but coming in for the last 3, even 3 shows, is really life-changing. There's a level of professionality that we start to learn. There's efficiency, a sort of just collaboration that we all have to adopt in order to be able to work with such a big, diverse group of people. And it teaches us a lot about ourselves as well in terms of how we need to work. How early do I have to get to rehearsal to get in the right headspace? How much preparation do I have to do on my lines? How much do I know before I even come in to work? Or do I have time to even learn anything beforehand? And most of the time with a season like this, you just kind of get there and you're like, all right, let's give it a go and see what happens. And that experience itself teaches you a whole lot about yourself and what you can handle. And it's just a really huge blessing to have the chance to explore those things with all these great people here.
I could easily write a book on what I've learned this summer. I think the biggest thing, tagging on to that, of course, at university, at school, we spend maybe 8 weeks on a show, rehearsing every night. And that gives us a lot of time to get really excited, get really depressed, get really self-conscious, get really, really excited again, get really depressed again. It just kind of goes around and around and around. It floats in our head all the time, and we have so much time to think so many things. And things that don't really matter. At the end of the day, it won't be about our work, it'll be about ourselves. And I think the biggest thing I've exercised and learned here at the Wagon Wheel is that there's not enough time. There's just not enough time to think about me. Am I ready? Am I excited? Am I depressed? Am I nervous? Am I self-conscious?
Gotta do it.
It doesn't matter. You just have to do it. And you have to do it for yourself and for the other people in the room. You have to learn your lines as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you're letting everyone down. And that's just as truthful as it is.
Yeah.
And so, not only learning that, but being in that and experiencing both parts of that has been eye-opening, calming almost, because I've found that theater can be more than just me being negative and self-conscious. It can just be an exciting, fun, collaborative process. Yeah. It's really, really wonderful.
Yeah.
Stressful as anything else in the
Absolutely.
world. Because all you can think is, I don't know these lines. And we're doing the show tomorrow. Or the next day for an audience. But you know what? It's going to work out.
It does. It always works out. That's the amazing thing. The magic of theater, I guess people call it, is that stuff just comes together. When you get enough people in a room with the same goal, it doesn't really matter how far off you are. Things just click and everything happens the way it needs to. And it's a beautiful thing.
Lucky here at the Wagon Wheel, we have a group of people that aren't just incredibly professional and passionate, but very, very talented and very, very smart. And it is so nice to walk into a room knowing I can trust these people, I can play with these people, and I can try things, and not be judged and not be concerned, but just do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I know, Matt, last time we had an interview, you talked a little bit about yourself, but since Rob's new, why don't you just give a brief reminder for your background and stuff?
Oh, like who I am.
Yeah, and then Rob can go, you get more time than he does.
Yeah. I'll go quick. My name is Matthew Paul Hill. I'm 21 years old, and I'm originally from Los Gatos, California. I go to school at the University of Cincinnati's College Conservatory of Music, or CCM, and I study musical theater. I will be graduating this upcoming year, class of 2014, and from there I will be doing everything and anything possible to continue to pursue my love and passion for theater.
Okay. And Rob,
Beautiful.
You take as much time as you need.
Thank you. My name is Rob Montgomery. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan. I grew up there and really I never moved, actually. I moved once when I was 1 year old, and I've been in the same house for 20 years. I also am 21, just turned 21 just a few weeks ago. And
happy belated birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And I go to Penn State's, Pennsylvania State University, if we're going to call the long name, for musical theater as well, in the BFA program. And I have one more year. And it's exciting. That senior year is coming up, and it's sort of your final chance to get all polished up and prepared and try to tackle this impossibly giant, unpredictable thing that we call real life. So it's coming, but I'm very excited and definitely frightened, and all the awesome emotions that come with kind of launching off, going out and figuring ourselves out. But yes, in addition to acting, actually this past year I sort of discovered that what I really think I want to get involved with is directing. My brain just sort of clicks with that in a way that it doesn't really quite with acting. And I love acting and I love performing, and I'm absolutely going to continue to do it. But I'm definitely going to start studying and learning and seeing if I can get my foot in the door with directing as well, because I think that is a passion that is going to fulfill me even more than acting will.
Okay. And are you guys in the next show, Forever Plaid, or is...
He is.
Okay.
Yes, I will be in Trevor Plaid.
Okay. So you got one more and you're done?
This is my last one.
Okay. Last question. If there's any show you could be in, musical or play, what would it be and why?
Oh, God.
That's a tough one. And you'd think we would know this.
I do know. I'm a little embarrassed to say this. No, I'm not embarrassed to say
don't
this.
Be embarrassed.
I absolutely 100% want to do the Book of Mormon. I've always been obsessed with that show since the second I found out it was going to be a thing. And I saw it in Chicago before I came out here and cried my eyes out because I thought it was the greatest piece of theater I've ever seen. And yes, I think it's hilarious. Yes, I think it's very, very offensive, which I enjoy. But I think it's a beautiful piece of theater. I think it does things that people have been trying for hundreds of years, and it does them successfully while testing every single fence and boundary and line it can and breaking through those walls easily. I think it's an awesome show, and I think it would be the most fun that you can have on a stage. And, you know, that's just the truth. That's my answer.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Man, okay.
I give you time.
Thank you. I thank you for that. One of my favorite composers these days is Michael John LaChiusa. And he has a show called See What I Want to See that I just saw in Chicago. And it's really interesting because it's not like my type. If we have this this concept sort of in performing in theater where, you know, if you look at a person, you're like, oh, you're sort of like, you know, like you're the good guy, or you're the bad guy, or you're the prince or the princess, or there's sort of general stereotypes that we fit into just based on our appearance and our personalities and that sort of thing. But there's a part in See What I Want to See that I think is just very, very juicy, and it's a little bit darker than things that I tend to play, but it's really, really exciting. And that show has such deep and beautiful and complicated but also very simple themes of like religion and God and spirituality and all these things that I'm fascinated by in real life. So I think it would be a wonderful chance to sort of delve into something really meaty like that.
Yeah. It sounds a little intense.
It is definitely intense. There's a lot of...
It's silly too.
It's very silly.
It's
got a really nice balance between sort of dark intensity and sort of holding the mirror up to ourselves and like laughing and being like, wow, we really do this. Like, this is us. And that humor over the seriousness, I think, is what makes it such a delicate and beautiful balance in that piece.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.